as a work of merit on its own, with its own plotline. You have a .sf shirt.
Yes, I do. Welcome to Vintage SF. This is my acquisitions for May, and we're going to talk about some of the stories behind these acquisitions. And Robert J. Sawyer right there is behind one of the acquisitions I have for this month. Of course, it's a signed acquisition. I was at a book launch at McNally Robinson here in Winnipeg. That's a bookstore. And Robert J. Sawyer, as he was making his presentation, realized I had this classic SF Books shirt. This came from my friend Nick at the Book Graveyard. Anyways, that was noticed because there was another science fiction author in the audience. His name was Gerald Brandt, and he was working with DAW. They had published his books starting in 2016. So I got to meet not just Robert J. Sawyer, but also Gerald Brandt and talk a little bit about science fiction. That was a lot of fun. And of course, I got a couple books signed. So let's start our acquisitions with those. The last time I'd seen Robert J. Sawyer was for the promotion of this book 2 years ago, The Downloaded. It came from the script for an Audible.com presentation, an original Audible.com book. It starred Brendan Fraser. This did very well for Audible.com, and a couple of months later, he was able to release it also as a book. Now, of course, if something does well, they'll want a sequel. So, Robert J. Sawyer didn't think he had a sequel for this book, but he did find a way to further the story. And it's The Downloaded 2. Ghosts in the Machine. Also, there's a bookmark for it. Once again, it starred Brendan Fraser. Once I got these books, both of them have a signature, and they say, "For Richard, keep reading, Robert J. Sawyer." I brought one other book of mine, though, along for him to see. This is a first edition from 2000, 2001, somewhere in that range, of Calculating God by Robert J. Sawyer. It's in amazing condition, and he was so surprised to see it. And I got him to inscribe it the same way as the previous one, too. For Richard, keep reading, Robert J. Sawyer. Here, let's just take a look at this. It's a first edition from June of 2000. So that was kind of fun to bring that up to him. And he noted, hey, it almost kind of color matches my last book. So those are stories behind the first book that's in my book haul, The Downloaded 2, Ghosts in the Machine. What should we look at next? I had some books that were sent to me as a gift from a friend in Calgary, Keith of the channel Tau Zero. In the description for this video, I'll have some links to some of the places and people that I'm talking about. So he sent me 4 books, and I did send him 1 book. And we'll leave that up to him if he shares that with you. But I actually read this book as well, Michael G. Coney, Palahaxie Tide, a.k.a. Hello Summer Goodbye in the UK, a.k.a. Rax in the US. So there's a review up on my channel about this. I'll put a link in the description. I really enjoyed Michael G. Coney. I've read a couple of his books now. The one that he had told me that he was going to send me, though, is a novel. I think it's a bit of a controversial novel, Dr. Adder by K.W. Jeter. So I haven't looked at this one yet. I did read this one because it was recommendation May, and so I thought, okay, I could tack this into there since he had sent it to me. So that one's already reviewed, as I said. I also received The Dreaming Dragons by Damien Broderick and The Black Grail by Damien Broderick. Never read Damien Broderick. I understand he is an Australian writer, so I'm looking forward to those. I think he's also a science fiction critic, and I do like some of those nonfiction books that are critiques of science fiction. So now where do we go next? I had those books that were signed by Robert J. Sawyer, and I happened to find this month another book that was signed by an author. And by the way, Robert J. Sawyer is a Canadian author, and this one is as well. Margaret Atwood, The Testaments. Now, I've only got one book by Margaret Atwood. It's Oryx and Crake. So this is, I know, a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. But let's take a look in here. You can see there that it is a signed copy by Margaret Atwood. So I went online and I purchased the companion, The Handmaid's Tale, to go along with that so that these would be matching on my bookshelf. I think you know how much I enjoy having liveries that match. And I also picked up, after Oryx and Crake, there is The Year of the Flood and Mad Adam. Now, I have a problem with this. Let me get the other one from the shelf. Here's an example of different livery. This is the first book in the series, and then we have the second and third book over here. If I happen to find one that matches this livery on a sale or used book, I might pick it up. I don't mind this livery, though. It looks pretty good, too. But they are going to look a little different on the shelf. Oh, well. Some of you are probably just going, what's your problem? A book is a book. You just read them. I also like to see the cover art and how they match each other. What's next over here? Well, let's talk about recommendation May still. There's one more book that I'm finishing that had recently been in a video of Stephen E. Andrews. It's Floating Worlds by Cecilia Holland. I'm about halfway through it right now, and so in June I'll have one more review of my May recommendations. Steve had talked about it perhaps in the last week of May, and I decided I just was going to read it based on his recommendation. But I thought also, there's another book that I bought brand new this month that was Steve's recommendation, and a second one that Steve talks about a lot too, but I bought because someone else recommended it. Let's get into it. One of Steve's very favorite authors, someone who is a personal friend to him, passed away recently, was Christopher Priest. You might know him from Inverted World, or perhaps from The Prestige. This is also supposed to be a very, very good novel of his. I had a hard time finding it, but when I did find it new online, I purchased it. The Glamour. Very much looking forward to this one. Now, the other one that I purchased on recommendations actually has two YouTubers who recommended it. First, I heard about it through Steve, again, the Outlaw Bookseller. He's also a friend of the author. But the second one is by a guy named Kyle Pinion. He is a film critic, and he also reads some science fiction, and he has a channel here on YouTube. In fact, I'm going to be live with Kyle on Tuesday, June 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be talking about what it's like to be a film critic, and also he is an author of a collection of stories called Taking Root. So that's coming up on Tuesday, June 2nd. Please join us live, or you can watch the feed afterwards to see the video. He did a great review, and Steve even commented on his review of this collection of stories, M. John Harrison's Verconium. This is from Fantasy Masterworks. So this is a collection of stories and novels. Verconium. Let me just take a look here in the table of contents. So we have Verconium Knights, The Pastel City, Lords of Misrule, Strange Great Sins, A Storm of Wings, The Dancer from the Dance, The Luck in the Head, The Lamia and Lord Cromus, In Verconium, A Young Man's Journey to Verconium. Last, I've got a stack here of older books. Let me get these. Every once in a while, I do like to pick up anthologies, and I can remember Omni magazine. I don't know about you, but this is the third book of science fiction from the Omni magazine. So this is a bit of a newer one, at least for me, when I talk about vintage SF. Let's see when it came out. This is from April of 1985. Some authors you might recognize are Alfred Bester, David Drake, Frederick Pohl, Roger Zelazny, Robert Silverberg, Gregory Benford, Philip K. Dick, Gene Wolfe, Fred Saberhagen, Thomas M. Dish, Bruce Sterling and William Gibson, and Dan Simmons. So there's a lot of very interesting authors in here. Looking forward to reading some of those short stories. I think I'm going to save the cover for this one last because I think it's my favorite cover of them all. Have you ever purchased a book, read it, and then sent it on to a used bookstore, only to later think, I should have kept that one. I need to refer to it, and I really liked that particular edition or livery for that one. Well, I felt that way about the Foundation series. This is with covers from the 1960s by Don Punchaz, I believe is his name. And it's just a very beautiful, beautiful book. And it's got this red text block to it. And so I have here Foundation and Empire as well. But something is missing. The third book is called the Second Foundation, and I don't have that one. So I'm going to be on the watch for that to complete this set. But these are in great, great condition. And so I'm really pleased to pick these up. I did read these a couple of years ago, and I think that it's just such an important series that I wanted to have it in my library to refer to again and again. Second last book now. When it comes to Larry Niven, I seem to like best his books, which he does in collaboration with Jerry Pournelle. Recently, I picked up hardcovers of The Molten God's Eye and also The Gripping Hand, its sequel. Well, I found another one from this duo here, these collaborators, and it's Footfall. This is an invasion novel, probably the finest novel of alien invasion ever written. Well, I'm not sure about that. I do remember reading this when it came out and really finding it enjoyable. Sort of more of a popcorn read, something that was fun and fast. Let's see when this one was printed here. This is from 1985. So I might get a Brodart, and that might help with some of these little tears here, at least to tighten it up and not let it get any more damage. But I'm really pleased with this one. And the last one, you might be wondering, what did I think was the best cover? This is a third Ace printing from 1972 from a book that's copyright 1966 by Robert A. Heinlein. The Worlds of Robert A. Heinlein. It says here, the greatest stories by the most honored writer in science fiction. When my wife saw that cover, she said, that's definitely a 1970s cover with the colors and the imagery here. And there's something about a spaceman, an astronaut that is a skeleton that always is curious to me. This one, for being from 1972, is in very, very good shape. Let's see if we recognize a few of these stories. Introduction, Pandora's Box. I wonder if that's... It looks to me like that is some sort of an essay, so I look forward to that. Free Men, Blow-Ups Happen, Searchlight, Lifeline, and Solution Unsatisfactory. I'm not sure if I know those stories. You can tell me if you do. I do look forward to reading the first essay in here, though. I always enjoy, as I said, nonfiction about science fiction. So those are the May acquisitions and some of the stories behind them. Let me know which book you find interesting. Do you have additional stories about them? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep reading.